Good morning. My name is Tom. Get yourself a cup of coffee. I come to you from Northern Maine. Welcome to my cabin today. Beagle's hanging out underneath the wood stove. Well, I've been so busy for the last, boy, it seems like forever, for the last 6 months to a year. We built that new cabin over at Beaver Creek, but I haven't had coffee with you guys at the kitchen table. And I know there's a bunch of you that really enjoy coffee at the kitchen table with me. So this morning I'm sitting here watching the rain outside. It's freezing rain. I'm hugging the wood stove. There's not much on the schedule today except for coffee time and throwing wood on the fire. I don't play outdoors in the freezing rain. It's just nasty. So have some coffee with me. What I am thinking about now is supper time. You know, when there's not much going on outdoors, then that's kind of what we do here at the cabin. And tonight, I'm going to have fish nuggets. So later on, I'm going to put together my fish batter and all of that. And I'm going to share that with you guys. Because, you know, just because it's store-bought doesn't mean it's good. You know, a little funny story there about fish batter. It was years ago now. It was, I'd be a bit surprised if it wasn't 10 years ago. I've always kind of just rolled my fish in flour and stuff like that and threw them in the frying pan or threw them into deep oil. Or breadcrumbs, cornmeal. That was kind of my go-to fish batters. And then one night, I can't remember what kind of fish I had here, but it was, I think it was grouper I had given to me from somebody that went fishing. It was either in Florida or California. I can't remember. He come back and he brought back a lot of that fish, and he said, you're gonna like this fish. So I went down to, I said, I'm gonna go get myself a good batter for this fish, and I'm gonna deep fry that fish in a good batter. So I went to the store, not a big store, a little tiny one, but anyways, they had some fish batter, and I bought it. Nothing expensive, couple dollars. And I brought it back here and I opened the package up and I looked in it and it looked just like white flour. So I looked at the ingredients on the back. It was white flour with ingredients that you couldn't say the name, so who knows what it was. But it was nothing that I recognized. So I decided right there that I was not going to cook them fish in nothing more than white flour and a few whatevers. So that night I started experimenting with making my own batter and stuff like that. And from that point on, I have branched out to absolutely everything as far as making batter, making pancake batter, all that stuff is just it's just run of the mill now, because from that night on I decided that maybe the store-bought stuff isn't as good as what I can do right here at the cabin. So that's what I did. And I'm going to share that with you later on tonight. I got the recipe right here. Everything that I make here at the cabin, everything that I cook, because I got a memory is about as good as nothing when it comes to you know, when you put something together, it's all experimental. If it tastes good, then it ends up in my pot. And sometimes you hit one out of the park. But when you hit one out of the park, you need to remember how you did it so you can do it again. So over the years, I've been building this book. This is Papa's Cookbook. And every time I make something here at the cabin, I put it in this book. And you can tell what stage in the life that I was at as to the names. you know, before grandkids, then all the recipes are Tom's homemade baked beans, or Tom's bread, or Tom's whatever. And then as I got grandkids, my name became Papa. So in the recipe book, the names switched over from Tom's baked beans to now everything that goes in is Papa's beef stew, or Papa's corned beef, or Papa's canned eels. So that's been kind of a little history story in the cookbook. But a few weeks ago I did I can't remember what the recipe was, what I was working on. You give me a minute and I'll find it. But absolutely everything that I do ends up in this book. Now I have a recipe basic that I follow, but I have no way as near stick to it, even from time to time. It's all about taste and all about where I am. At the cabin I have different spices, so at the cabin I'll make up a different fish batter. But it always starts out the same. It starts out with about a cup of pancake mix or a cup of flour. Either one, doesn't matter. Tonight, and you'll see, I'm not going to measure this. I mean, I've got a few fish to do, but it's to taste, and like I said, this is one of the things that I do quite often. So we'll say let's say there's about a cup in there. I'm probably going to give it just a little bit more. Like I said, it doesn't matter as long as I keep it refrigerated, because I can reuse it. And then, this is where you can spice up your own fish batter. I'm making sure we're in the picture. You can spice up your own fish batter to whatever you want. The basics you're starting out with is you definitely got to have some flour. For me, a basic fish batter always includes garlic. And the same thing there. Maybe at least a tablespoon of garlic. I like garlic, so I always go a little heavy. And because I'm at the cabin right now, this trip, I have got some Old Bay spice. I use this in absolutely everything. And the same thing here. At least a strong tablespoon. Not tablespoon, I mean a teaspoon of that. And then I like to spice things up, and that's where your black pepper comes from. And like, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I can't, a teaspoon of black pepper. And I always spice things up with cayenne red pepper. Now for me, I put in a strong teaspoon. Again, this is to taste for what you've got in mind. So judge things by your taste buds. Whoop. Judge things by your taste buds. And then you can't leave out salt. I package my salt up here in a, same thing here, at least a teaspoon of salt into that mixture. And because I'm here, I do have some Cajun. Like I say, you can make these fish batters out of what makes you feel good. And you can't go wrong because it's a fish batter. And you get all that in your bag. I haven't left out anything. Then you give everything a good shake. And that's my fish batter for tonight. Not any more complicated than that. And I can guarantee you it's a lot better than the fish batter that you can go buy at the local grocery store. Here's the saltwater brine for soaking my fish prior to deep frying them. Now I have two recipes for saltwater brine. the reason I want 2 recipes is I have the first recipe that I use is about I don't need a lot. Now the recipe that I've got in this book is for when I'm getting ready to do a lot of canning. If I'm going to can up some fish, I'll also soak these fish prior to canning them. So this recipe here, this is a saltwater brine for my canning. It's 2 cups of sugar, 2.5 gallons of water, and then salt until an egg will float. So you add enough salt to that water, keep stirring it, and then drop an egg in. And when that egg starts to float, then it's ready to put in your fish. Then soak for the canning is soak the fish for 2 or more days. Now I like to soak stuff for close to 5 days. So, but you just and if you want to try that, then you know, it's a lot of stuff here is to taste, and then pad the fish dry before adding them to a smoker. A smoker, I like to smoke my fish, then after smoking, then I drop them into a canning jar. This is the exact same recipe that I use for canning eels, and that's why I have this big quantity. But if you're doing a small batch and you're like what I've been doing for just eating or like feeding the family and on the family outings that we've had, the fish fries, what I've done is I take about 3 cups of water to a 1/2 cup of salt, and that's it. No sugar, no nothing. I'll stir the salt in there until it all dissolves, and then after that, then I will drop my fish into the bag. It's the same thing. In a Ziploc freezer bag, I put my stuff in there, stir it all up, and then put it in the refrigerator for 5 days. Then I'll take it out, chunk it up, and then that's my fish for the fish fry. So that's going to wrap this up. I hope I made some sense here of how I do my batters and my brines for my fish. I had a couple of questions that came in for all of that. I had one question from Edmund. Check out Edmund's channel if you wanted. He's new to YouTube. He's just building his channel. He's got some really nice videos on there about the state of Maine. The name of his channel is Edmund Homestead. And if I got it wrong, I'll fix it here on this clip. Edmund Homesteading. I think that's the whole name, but I'm not exactly sure. But check him out anyways. Like I said, if not, I will fix it here in the video. Edmund had a question about my saltwater brine. He picked that up in one of my videos. So here you go, Edmund, straight from the East Grand Woodsman Papa's Cookbook. So, like I said, I got a memory as good as nothing. So I have to write absolutely everything down. So you guys have a last sip of coffee with me. I've got a couple more things that I'm going to work on here today. More in this recipe book because there's nothing else to do here today. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.